The Pro Sportfisher tube fly system is also a quite comprehensive and large system. Pro Sportfisher has 4 different diameters of tubes. They have a really thin one that's 1.4 millimeter, which is basically the thinnest tube out there. I use this a lot for my coastal flies, for tying saltwater flies, because this comes very close to an actual hook, but because this is only 1.4 millimeters, then it does not fit with all the different things, because it basically gets quite jiggly if you do this. But for my coastal fishing, I mainly tie just a fly. I don't use cones. I don't use all kinds of different weights, because that's not ideal and not well suited for any given coast flies. So the 1.4 millimeter is great for coastal fishing, but the standard tube in the Pro tube system is the 2.2 tube. The 2.2 tube is called a classic tube. They have a flexi tube and a lot of different other specialized tubes, but the classic 2.2 tube is the standard tube for using with all the different things. Because the hole in these all these different Pro cones and beads are 2.2 millimeter, that makes the Pro tube unsuitable for future fly and unsuitable for Frodin. So if you buy Pro tubes, then you can only use Pro on this system. But it fits really well on the Pro system, but that's the only thing it can be used for. Pro also have a 3.2 millimeter and also have a 4.2 millimeter. The 4.2 is intended for pike, and it's a great tube for pike. Pro has a lot of different unique beads and weights. In particular, the flexi bead from Pro is one of my all-time favorite beads for tube flies. I use the 5.2 millimeter for my three favorite tube flies for Danish salmon: the Astrid, the Tilder, and the horse sock variations. And it's just a superb way of getting your flies the right weight to make your flies fish in the right depth. Another thing that I'm really fond of from the Pro system is a weight that's called the drop weight. This again has quite a unique way of design. It has a quite unique design, and it also adds a lot of weight to your fly. So a fly like this is one of my all-time favorite go-to patterns for both salmon and sea trout in rivers. It's called the France Easy, and if you want to see how this is tied, then basically swing by Nordic Anglers to see exactly that. But Pro Sportfisher also has a lot of different US tubes that can be used as the full body on a fly like this HKA Sunray Shadow. So overall, also what I find is that the Pro Sportfisher cones and discs have the best coating, have the best finish. They are painted more times than the other brands, which makes these last longer, so they do not lose color over time, as you can see from time to time happening with some of the Future Fly stuff and some of the Frodin stuff as well. Also, Pro Sportfisher has the best tube fly needle out there. This is without a doubt the best tube fly needle. This is a bit crooked, and the reason for that is I tried to cut this with a pair of pliers, but my pliers were simply not strong enough to actually cut this, because it's a bit lengthy. So if you have a pair of cutters that can actually cut this, then I would say a good idea is to shorten the length of this a little. And that makes it a bit more ideal. This size here is the large, and it will fit all the Pro tubes except the 1.4 millimeter, and it will fit all the Future Fly tubes. And if you should only get one needle, then you should get this one. Pro, of course, has one that fits the 1.4 millimeter as well. It's called the small, and this needle will again fit with the Frodin, the smallest of the Frodin tubes. The thing about this needle is it's really strong, it's really sturdy, it's really stable, and that is because this is made from a higher grade of steel than both Future Fly and Frodin needle. Future Fly and Frodin needle will last you a long time, but if you accidentally push hard on those, you can bend them a bit, and that's of course not ideal. That's not possible with this needle. So the Sportfisher flexi needle is my all-time favorite needle for tying, just almost all types of flies. What I really would like to stress and to explain here is that if you take the 1.8 millimeter tube from Futurefly, then what you're able to do is actually to fit all the pro stuff on there as well, without the diameter interfering too much with the hole here is not going to be so big that it interferes with how you actually tie your fly. So what I do a lot is the basic tube I use the most is the Futurefly tube in 1.8 millimeters, because then it's possible for me to use all the Futurefly stuff on there, but it's also possible to use all the Sportfisher stuff on there. And the 1.8 millimeter tube is quite sturdy, is quite robust, and that makes an ideal way of using both the Futurefly and the Sportfisher system. So, also, of course, I forgot to mention that Sportfisher makes the best artificial jungle cock out there. These are just really, really awesome, and you can get both a small package, a bulk package with a lot of different feathers, not feathers, but artificial feathers. But you can also buy, just added a really cool new item that's called a full cape, which basically is a pretty big sheet that has all the different sizes. And also Sportfisher makes these in more sizes than any other company. So you can get a triple X small all the way up to an XL. So every single fly that you tie, even the smallest of flies, can be used with the Sportfisher artificial jungle cock. So Sportfisher, Futurefly and Frodin all have different things. The Sportfisher has some really unique weights, and I'm really, really happy and use the Sportfisher a lot.